welcome to the Leaderboard, where we talk about what's going on in the world of esports. I'm Meg Turney, and joining me, as always, is the Daily Dod's Jared Wynne. Hello.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's you.
Yeah.
Now that we're Radiohead, we're going to do something else. We've been being Radiohead.
We've kind of gone there, done that. It's over.
Yeah.
Moved on.
We're ready to come back to the Leaderboard.
Yeah.
All right, so the League Championship Series playoffs continued. We talk about the LCS forever, it seems, this weekend. They continued, and the finals are now set. Cloud9 and Team Solo Mid will meet once again in the North American final after Cloud9 came back from an 0-2 deficit to defeat Team Liquid, while Team Solo Mid bested Team Impulse. In Europe, Unicorns of Love upset SK Gaming with their awesome name to set a date with Fnatic, who beat H2K. All right, let's talk about this.
We're talking about it for as long as the playoffs go on.
That's right. That's right. We will talk about it as long as it takes.
We talk about the playoffs as long as the playoffs last. It tends to be the way we go about things here. Yeah, Unicorns besting SK Gaming. There were some questions about the chemistry of SK. I think most people thought that SK would still be able to come together, bring it together, best team in the region for the split, and defeat Unicorns. Didn't work out that way. Their strength, their ability to bully across all lanes was not enough to best the Unicorns in their rather unique tactics.
Right.
Who came up. Some questions in the bottom lane for SK Gaming. Animated making some questionable plays, especially. Now you have Forgiven, who's been rumored to be frustrated with his bottom lane partner and maybe leaving the team as a result of that frustration. Maybe going to a different region, in fact.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, SK, this might be the last we see of this.
Not only am I leaving this team, I'm leaving this region.
Yeah, I'm just getting out. That's how much I don't like you and everything about you. That's kind of what's going on here, though. So,
That's rough. I'm laughing, but I'm like, your pain.
We're joking, but this is pretty much what the exact situation is they're in. And then, of course, Fnatic, who had a really rough start to the season, the off-season was pretty rough for them, or it seemed rough, have rounded out very well. Now they're the favorites in the final against Unicorns, although I would not bet against Unicorns given what they just did in the semifinal.
Right.
Over in North America.
Right, let's talk about Team Solo Mid.
Well, let's talk about Cloud9.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well,
okay.
I'm just going to say 0-2 down to Team Liquid, and you come back and win 3 in a row. It speaks to their resilience, their chemistry, their strength as a team. Saw some good play from Balls, especially. He's had some question marks around him, and he really stepped up here, I think. High, maybe not stepping up quite as much, doing enough. But now High is going to be facing Bjergsen in the mid lane. It's a bad matchup for Cloud9. TSM getting past Team Impulse as well as Tip have been playing. Not a big challenge for TSM after that first game in that series. So now we have TSM versus Cloud9, the classic, in the final of North America, as it should be, well, as it is every time these teams are in the LCS. We get this final. Tough matchup for Cloud9 because it's hard to see them out-preparing TSM, outsmarting TSM. You look at the matchups, you think that Bjergsen in the mid lane against High, that's a bad matchup for Cloud9. Maybe you give a significant advantage to Lustboy against Elimination as supports in the bottom lane. Even if you go slightly with Sneaky over Wild Turtle as ADC, with Meteos over Santorin, that's not for sure because Santorin's played quite well. I think especially since IEM, he's played very well, getting a little more offensive at times in the jungle position. It's just tough for Cloud9 to have a distinct advantage anywhere on the field or in the practice area, or in terms of the mindset. Like I don't think they can win 3 in a row against TSM as they did against Team Liquid just this past weekend. So tough for Cloud9. I think Balls has to play really well in the top lane, really outplay Dyrus, and even then, I don't know if it's enough for Cloud9 against TSM.
So do you want to make any predictions?
I can. I'm sure I'll be completely right about everything I say.
Yes.
TSM, I think, it's just a tough matchup for Cloud9. They're not going to sweep Cloud9, but it's hard to see. I just don't see Cloud9 beating TSM 3 times in 5 games. That's a tough matchup for them across the board. It really is. I think Bjergsen is going to get fed at least a couple times, and it's going to be very difficult for Cloud9 to win those games. So then you have to win every game he doesn't get fed, and that's hard because TSM's really good beyond just Bjergsen in the mid lane.
So what about in Europe? You think Unicorns Love? Because you said you don't want to bet against them.
I don't, and it's hard to bet against them because they're so unpredictable, and they really make it tough. And they have success against Fnatic. They're split. So I don't know. It's a really hard to call series, actually. As good as a TSM Cloud9 matchup might have seemed before the season, it's actually the Unicorns of Love Fnatic matchup that I think is the most difficult to predict just because of where these two teams are and their history this split. I guess you go with Fnatic because they played very well in beating H2K. But then again, Unicorns beat SK, although SK was kind of on tilt, I think, internally going into that matchup and during the matchup, especially in the bottom lane. So we'll see. It's going to be a good final out there. I would give a slight edge to Fnatic, but I would be very easily, I think, proven wrong in that one.
For the sake of competition, I will take Unicorns of Love.
Just because you like their name.
Why, I do,
As
and
if
I
you were
own
not
it.
going to take Unicorns of
And
Love.
I own it.
As if you would have changed that if I had picked Unicorns. I'm sure you would have picked Fnatic.
I'll take Ninjas in Pajamas. Just picking other names that I really liked. Starhorn Royal Club. I was like, I love to pick names that are so good.
That's a good look.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
The Green Wall, are they in this? Is that this?
No, that's not a team either.
Thing, I know. Obviously, support my humor.
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. This is reported this week by the Daily
Dallas
Dot.
Cowboys
You
are in
might
it,
know
though.
them. The Daily Dot. That several major players in the esports scene had come together to discuss the potential of forming an exclusive, or at least semi-exclusive, Counter-Strike league in which teams would have to receive permission from the league in order to compete at any other events. WTF?
Well, let me throw out some names here. ESL, Twitch, Vulcan. What's the commonality here? They're very big in competitive gaming. They have a lot of money potentially behind them, and they might come together to create an exclusive Counter-Strike league where teams would have to get express permission to compete in any other competition. Sounds kind of strange. Sounds kind of
Right. Why would you want to do that to yourself?
Well, potentially money. So we might have not quite, but close to $20 million funding this event, this league that we put together. That's significant, let's say. The majors in Counter-Strike to this point have $250,000, $250,000 per major for the teams and players involved. Up that to almost $20 million. Now, all of that would not go to the players and teams, obviously, but a chunk of it would.
Sure.
That's a nice little chunk of change. Really, that's about control. You've got people in the power organizations, let's say. So your TSMs, your Navi, NIP, Cloud9, CLG. I'm missing, I think, one or two, who are in a position to, they think, take control of Counter-Strike, which is the second biggest by viewership and most metrics you would put out there behind League of Legends, the second biggest esports title, and it's only growing rapidly. You know, this time last year it was a lot smaller than it is now, and it seems like steady, sustainable growth as well. So you want to take advantage of that, right? At least these guys do, and they think they're in a position to, even though some of them have not really had much to do with the Counter-Strike scene at all in the past. They've really been mostly in League. Now they're here, TSM as a team, CLG as a team, and they want to take advantage of it. Again, they want to make it exclusive, or at least semi-exclusive, where you have to get permission to just play in any other event. And how do you go about getting that permission? You know, how easy is that permission to obtain? These are all good questions, Meg, that we don't really have the answer to.
It sounds very shadowy at this point.
It's very shadowy, and what makes it even more shadowy is that when you ask these people, or when our reporters like Richard Lewis, who works for the Daily Dot and does a fantastic job for us, when he asks these people, okay, who is pulling the strings here? Whose idea was this? They all point fingers. Like, actually, they came to us first. You know, maybe ESL brought it up first. Maybe the teams like TSM, like CLG, brought it up first. They all seem to be disagreeing. Twitch is kind of sitting over there like, hey, we didn't even know what we were going to have a meeting about. These people showed up to our door to have a meeting we weren't really aware of, and then we had a meeting about this without really knowing what was going on.
I love the idea of people just showing up and being like, well, you're here, fuck it, let's have a meeting.
Yeah, to the Twitch offices. Like, you know what? We all just happened to be in the town. We were having, like, lunch.
Also, it doesn't sound really encouraging if nobody wants to take credit for the idea.
Well, it's because there was a lot of backlash to the idea. It's
Sure.
like, oh, you're going to prevent teams from playing in all the big events? I think Virtus Pro was actually in there, too. I think that's one I forgot. I think. So, yeah, it's a really weird situation. And the fans have reacted very strongly to it.
Sure.
I don't necessarily think it's a completely bad thing because the LCS has League of Legends exclusively, obviously. But that's different as well because Riot runs the LCS. Valve does not have anything to do with this. And in fact, Valve's involvement is very important here because you have other organizations outside of ESL, Vulcan and such. And Vulcan, for those who don't know, is a big fantasy betting website that is offering like $40 million in prizes right now and just got some more investing, some funding to the tune of like $12 million, I think, additional dollars in their bank accounts. So they have some money to play around with now. They're looking to get involved in a league structure somewhere. So you have other organizers like perhaps FaceIt, perhaps DreamHack, just throwing out some names, going to Valve now and saying, hey, don't let this happen. This is your game. Put your foot down. Prevent this shit. And I think Valve's in a tough position now because they have really tried to stay away from having an active role in the competitive aspects of their games. But if you stay away from this, you're allowing sort of a monopoly potentially with your biggest competitive game, Counter-Strike. If you get involved, you're going back on your precedent you set of being hands-off with this sort of thing. So Valve's in a tough position. The players, what do they even do? What do they think about all of this? It's hard to say. It's just a really weird thing for everyone involved. A lot of tumult right now.
Sure.
I think plans are being changed on the fly. The fact this news was broken actually changed plans and made people, because the fans were so upset about it and so vocal about it, and the teams, they have to think about PR as well. So it's a really dynamic situation. We're going to be talking about this more. For sure.
No, definitely. And it's interesting that you bring up Valve being so hands-off, because I feel like this year they've been just pulled kicking and screaming into having to deal with the competitive aspects of their game.
The game just keeps getting bigger and you can't ignore it.
Right.
We talked about how they ignored for so long the betting aspect of the game and how big it was, even though it was one of the main draws, and still is, to Counter-Strike, the betting scene, to competitive Counter-Strike, I should say. And they had to come out and make a statement. They had to take a position because you couldn't have all this money moving around with matches that were potentially fixed.
Right.
You could not have that. The competitive nature of the game was being compromised by that idea and by it actually happening, as we saw. So Valve had to come in. They had to step in and up their anti-cheat game, because it was a thing that players were cheating, not just online, but professional players were cheating at live events. So Valve has been made to step in because the game has gotten so big, because Counter-Strike has gotten so big, and now they're going to have to step in even further to deal with this. Or step back and let it just happen.
Let it happen.
I have a hard time seeing them just letting this happen.
Yeah, I don't think that'll happen.
They'll have some kind of involvement, but what that is, we don't know, because Valve is so quiet about what they're going to do.
Yeah. Well, we want to know what you guys think about it, so let us know in the comments how you feel about the idea of teams having to ask for permission to play in different events.
And don't hold back.
Yeah. Please don't.
Let it loose, let it flow.
All right, speaking of Twitch's been doing its own preparation for increasing competition as MLG looks to put popular streamers on contract, and as Azuba receives additional funding, YouTube may prove the biggest challenge, which of course it is, because it's huge. Twitch has reacted by making a new round of hires focused on further integrating themselves in some of the competitive communities. They see YouTube on the horizon. Let's talk about YouTube creeping in on Twitch.
It is creeping in, although I don't know if YouTube can really creep. They're pretty big. Here we are at YouTube, second biggest search engine behind Google, who own us, and we're going to just creep in here. Don't mind Google.
Don't mind us.
Don't mind
we're
YouTube.
Just hiring people. No big deal.
It's it's easy to look past the giant YouTube soldier creeping towards you. But even as it exists, Azuba is going to have, they have new funding. They're going to have a new fancy platform redone again. Whether that means anything, I don't think it really does for Azuba, honestly. But MLG is trying to hire away popular streamers, not just competitive gamers, but anyone who's a popular streamer for 6 figures, as much as 6 figures, high 6 figures. Well, I say high 6 figures. I don't mean 900,000, but good salaries, right? Because they want to have the big streamers on Twitch go to MLG exclusively and be on their platform. Tough deal for those streamers, because you would leave behind a big chunk of your audience.
Right.
You might get half the money from your donations and your subscriptions and stuff that you got at Twitch over at MLG with that audience, but then you get theoretically compensated by MLG paying you more as a base salary. Still, though, hard to leave your audience behind, and that's why I think most Twitch streamers have stayed at Twitch, even if they get paid more base to go to MLG. That hasn't really worked out for MLG thus far. YouTube is going to just offer, in their mind, I think, a better platform and more tools and kind of a new cool thing. It's kind of strange that a company as big as YouTube, owned by a company as big as Google, could position themselves as the new, cool, different upstart, right?
Yeah. Oh, you haven't tried us before.
Yeah, we're brand new. We're growing. Come and help us. They're also a giant company.
Yeah,
bigger.
It's a little bit strange.
Yeah, of course, Twitch is now, owned by Amazon, purchased for $1 billion. So the players in the competitive gaming streaming battle are huge and very well funded, obviously. Twitch's reaction has been to try to ingratiate themselves further into the communities. So they hire Mike Ross, a popular fighting games player, some time ago for the fighting games community. Now they've recently picked up Hiko and Fiflaurin, 2 very popular Counter-Strike players. Yeah, he's back with Twitch. They picked up Anders and Simler, 2 very popular casters, to work exclusively for Twitch. So they're just trying to ingratiate themselves further into the community, so that even if the offerings from a YouTube or even from an Azubu or a Hitbox or an MLG, whoever else, are better technically or offer something that Twitch doesn't, the community, they want to be so ingrained in Twitch and a part of what Twitch does and have so much goodwill towards Twitch, they stick with it because this is our turf. This is our home. Twitch is our home, not just some billion-dollar company owned by Amazon. It's our people. That's what they want to create in the communities, and they're doing that now. They're trying to do that, and it's, I think, working. They're going about it, I think, in a smart way.
Yeah. All right, so I'm excited. This is my favorite story today. Finally, Mortal Kombat X made its competitive debut when the ESL hosted the Fatal 8 exhibition. Several of the world's most promising Mortal Kombat players gathered to duke it out, with Dominic "Sonic" Fox McLean emerging victorious. He's so cute. He's 17. Look at this little cutie. All right, let's talk about it, because it's a 19-year-old and a 17-year-old duking it out in the finals.
Do you like his hat?
I loved his hat. He's adorable. And he's first in 2 different games. He's a reigning world champion in 2 different games.
He's pretty good.
He's really good, and he kicked ass.
He's not bad. Kicked more ass than you might even know. So he went 5-0, 5-1, 5-0 in the playoffs here.
Amazing.
In a brand new game. Mortal Kombat X hasn't even been released.
Right.
I think, actually, it might have been released by the time this goes out. But at the time this was played,
yes.
It had not been released. They were playing like the pre-release of the game. So, yeah, pretty impressive by him. Not a bad showing by Mr. Sonic Fox. He's been dominant across multiple games this year coming into this. So, I mean, it's not a big surprise. And now with MKX becoming, pretty big relevant game, ESL getting involved, we talked about them earlier, funding the game pretty well, offering tens of thousands of dollars, getting some esports love to Mortal Kombat. It's a nice position for him to be in. I think other players will catch up, because with the money involved, with the prestige of an ESL being involved, people are going to put their time in. They're going to do their homework, and they're going to get better at the game. Certainly a good start for Mr. Sonic Fox. And it's good to have Mortal Kombat getting some attention like this, some professional attention, you might say, because we don't just want Street Fighter to be the only game getting that love and that money. Certainly, Street Fighter getting $500,000 from Capcom and Sony, a bit more than what Mortal Kombat's getting from ESL, but still, it's good to have the money spread around the fighting game community, rather than just having one fighting game get all the money and all the attention. It's nice to have the love spread. I like spreading love.
Well, I thought that what was really interesting about this final was the amount that patience played out. They talked a lot about patience in this final, which is that it would come out and it would seem like Sonic was getting his ass kicked at the beginning. Like there would be huge combos and he'd just kind of wait and bide his time and then just be like, "Haka!" and just dish it out. It was incredible.
Yeah, there is no such thing as momentum in competition at all. Sports, it's a very popular term. The momentum is on their side now. They just scored 21 points into the quarter or whatever bullshit. So this is the thing. This is the thing in competitive
gaming.
No momentum, competitive anything. There's none.
Okay, you just hate momentum. Okay.
Competitive shoots and ladders. There'd be no momentum. If you just went 50 spaces ahead of me, it's not because momentum took you there. It's because you happen to.
But you don't think momentum has a negative effect on your competitor? Like if I'm getting my ass kicked.
You have a bad mindset.
Yeah.
That's the criticism of your mindset, not your momentum going.
I think
the
it's
wrong
the
way.
other person's momentum
it's
affecting
not your chi like getting suppressed.
No, but it's just like it's a little bit. It's hard to deal with somebody doing so well.
Well, how do you define
like
that? I don't think there's a force behind you, like the momentum of force.
Sure.
Coming in like a wave.
Right.
Just
It's not.
crashing
I get
you
it. It's not the
me.
force.
It's
but
not. It might be. I don't know. I'm asking you actually. You say momentum is a real thing. Is it the force?
Well, I just think it affects people's mentality, like their sports mentality.
Is it more the force or chi?
See, I don't think it's either one of those, because it's not like the force you can, if you're
so you're saying the force is a real thing.
Manipulate.
You're saying the force is a real thing, and it affects players in sports.
Don't start telling me Santa's not real on the show, okay?
So
the force is real.
You think chi really does play a role in Mortal
No,
Kombat?
I just think it's about your mindset, is what I'm saying. It's about being able to take somebody else's doing well and not letting it affect
Well,
you.
I'm glad you agree with me, because that's what I said.
Right, but I'm saying that momentum is real because it does affect people.
Okay, so you think
Hey.
chi is real?
What do you think about momentum in sports?
Do you
Let us
agree
know.
with Meg's chi
In the
theory?
comments down below. I didn't say chi, you said chi. Guys, thanks so much for joining us on the
force.
leaderboard. Don't forget to join us next week and we'll talk more about esports. GG, kids.
Probably, I suspect.
Momentum is real.